everyone! Once again, Fujifilm has released a very nice collection of brand new products, and in today's video, we're gonna fly through, well, a whole bunch of them. Now, this is just a first looks video, and as such, it isn't really a deep review. It's more of an experiential look into these new products, and by that I mean that they landed on my desk here just mere days before I left for a job and some other traveling in Europe. Now, my goal in this video is to leave you with an impression of where these new offerings land in the whole scheme of the Fujifilm lineup and what type of photographer or, let's say, creator really they're ideal for. Now, enough with the chit chat, let's take a look at the lineup. First up is the entirely new X-T50, basically a baby X-T5 with very grown-up powers. The X-T50 also comes with an optional kit lens, the brand new 16-50 2.8-2.4.8. We're going to discuss why this lens is a big deal, especially when paired with the X-T50. Following this, we'll be looking at the new GFX 100S II. Y'all probably saw this one coming as we saw the release of the GFX 100 II just 6 months ago. With this also comes another new lens, the GF 500mm f/5.6 R LM OIS WR. A powerful and optically stunning telephoto lens. I'm going to break this video into two parts. We're going to start first with the X-T50, and then we are going to move into the GFX 100S II. Now you can go directly to the product that you're after by using the chapter feature in YouTube. As mentioned, it was only 2 days before I left for France that Fujifilm sent me so many boxes of camera gear that it pushed the very limits of my luggage allowance. While I was excited about it, it also meant that I couldn't bring any cheese back with me, and that makes me sad. The first part of my trip was a job in Paris shooting a summer 2024 fashion campaign for a French brand. For photography, I used the GFX 100S II, and I handed the X-T50 to a production assistant to take behind-the-scenes content. We also shot a short commercial on my X-H2S, and I added some additional video shots from the GFX. I don't have much, if really any, B-roll of me using this camera while I was away. Why, you ask? Well, because after our last trip to Portugal, my girlfriend said I was basically verboten from doing any work while on vacation. And if you want to know what I mean by that, well, I did a video on that exact trip, which I'll link to below. Now let's firstly discuss what the X-T50 even is. And in my own words, it's a baby X-T5. Same processor, same sensor, same a lot of things, but smaller and cuter. We can start by just saying where the X-T5 remains a more dominant product. The X-T5 is still the camera you want if you prefer a 3-way tilting LCD. The X-T50 only does 2-way. The X-T5 is twice as fast with continuous shooting, and it can also do up to 1/8,000th of a second versus the 1/4,000th of a second on the X-T50. You can also rest easy on the X-T5 with dual card slots versus the single UHS 2 slot of the X-T50. The X-T5 is also a safer bet in inclement weather due to its weather resistance. There are a few more differences, but those are basically the big ones. Now, the X-T50 isn't a letdown in any way, far from it. It actually has a number of great features that are unique to this model, and here are the ones that I absolutely loved. First is a dedicated dial for film simulations. This has become my favorite way to select and audition different simulations, and far better than having to go into the Q menu, which obstructs the screen with the entire menu. With all Fujifilm cameras, yes, of course, you can assign a button to film simulations that will do the same thing as this dial without the dial. But I like the actual physical dial because it's quicker and more intuitive when you're looking through the EVF. There's also an auto switch. Just this one switch here turns the camera to all auto. And what I love about this is that not everyone is an experienced photographer, like this person. And not everyone can drive standard transmission vehicles, like this person. So someone has to take pictures of mountains and things while I am otherwise occupied. Handing the camera to her to take photos with all auto was absolutely seamless. And honestly, I used it myself quite often when walking the streets and just wanting to be prepared for anything that might happen. All auto was greatly appreciated. And this coming from a guy who is very much a manual settings kind of guy. The next thing I loved was this pop-up flash. Okay, so I didn't use any flash, and I'm not really a flash kind of guy, but I love that it's on this camera because the idea of this camera is that it's for everyone in every situation. it's not a big clumsy camera, and it should just easily come with you wherever you go, like the X100VI. And that means maybe you're at a party, or maybe an event, or maybe you're in the forest, wherever you might need a flash at a moment's notice, especially in places that you have little desire to carry around a big speed light. Beyond this, I just really love the size and the design. If you want a really high resolution, light, and multi-purpose travel size camera, this is an excellent choice, even when you consider other comparable products on the market. It boasts the very same sensor as the very in-demand X100VI, but with an interchangeable lens, making this camera far more attractive to those who just weren't willing to commit to the X100VI. And this is a great segue into this new kit lens, the XF50 2.8 to 4.8 R LM WR, which replaces the previous XF18 to 55 2.8 to 4 R LM OIS, which means you get a slightly wider angle of view, much more similar to the classic full frame 24 to 70, and weather resistance. I performed some quick tests with this lens, and I pitted it against Fujifilm's own XF16 to 55 constant 2.8 LMWR. And that lens costs nearly $500 Canadian more and weighs nearly 3 times as much as this lens. In almost every scenario, the new 18 to 55 performed as well or better than the model of the 16 to 55, which I had on hand. Now, both of those lenses are definitely outstanding. And yes, many will balk at the fact that the kit lenses don't have this constant aperture, and in this case, this lens is only really 2.8 at its widest focal length. Still, the most resounding aspect of this lens is its weight and size, and unlike its more expensive brother, it does not telescope when zoomed, which makes it an amazing lens if you're gimbal mounting your camera. The only aspect worth noting is the hard ring bokeh of the 16 to 50 2.8 to 4.8. This is caused by overcorrected spherical aberration. It will mean that out of focus areas will be a little more edgy, but it's a very small issue that I certainly wouldn't worry too much about, especially if you're using this as a travel camera or a sort of an everyday camera. Let's shift our focus now to the new GFX 100S2. As I mentioned in my intro, I use this camera for shooting stills on the recent job in Paris, and I mentioned in several of my videos that the GFX series of cameras are, without a doubt, my absolute favorite for commercial work, especially portraits. Even when you eliminate how affordable they are compared to the competition, they still offer more than just about any other medium format camera on the market. The GFX 100S series, this being the update to the previous model, is about giving users access to this level of imaging for a lower cost. And as such, there are things that the GFX 100S2 can't do in comparison to the GFX 102 released 6 months ago. Most notably, you're still going to want the GFX 102 if you're after a variety of EVF options, as this EVF is completely fixed. In the video department, the Big Brother still offers 8K video versus the 4K top out of the 100S2, and the GFX 102 also boasts higher resolution EVF and LCD screens with higher refresh rates. Now, the GFX 102 is also a better choice if you're after various video codecs like ProRes, which come by way of the Express Type B CF card slot, versus the 2 standard UHS 2 SD slots of the GFX 100S2. Lastly, the GFX 102 sports a full-size HDMI over the micro of the S2, and the GFX 102 also gives you Ethernet for more demanding commercial situations. Now, that out of the way, both cameras offer wireless tethering and auto-upload to Frame.io without any additional grips. What I can say is that when shooting models who do what models do, which is move, I really need my autofocus to be fast and accurate, and the camera's buffer also can't hold me back. While the GFX 100S2 isn't anywhere as fast as my XH2S, it didn't really hold me back either. Like the 102, the image quality from the 16-bit RAW is pure magic. I really believe that if your focus is primarily on photography, then you aren't really losing much over the GFX 102. In fact, the cost savings would indicate that Fujifilm is looking squarely at eating into the full-frame camera market. There is nowhere else you can get a 16-bit medium format camera at this price point. Doesn't exist. Lastly, on our journey is the new GF 500mm 5.6 R LM OIS WR. Yes, it's big. So much so that I really had to choose when to pull this thing out because it's not really made for, using during a casual stroll. But with this lens, I mostly took pictures of mountains or faraway churches or birds. Now, I never quite caught a bird in flight because they seem to all want to land the second I pull my camera out, but I got this little guy mere milliseconds before launching. And I also caught some other mysterious flying creatures. But when it comes to long lenses, even those made for APS-C cameras can be large and heavy. And while the 500 is undoubtedly large, it's not as large as it could be, especially considering it's a medium format lens. And it's remarkably light. Like, that's not hyperbole. It should be so much heavier than it is, especially with image quality being as good as it is. And speaking of image quality, as expected, it's excellent from corner to corner. All right, my friends, summary time. If you're looking at getting a great everyday or travel camera, then the X-T50 is such an outstanding choice, especially when it's paired with the new 16-50. For those looking to get into medium format photography, but maybe you just have that full frame budget, then the GFX 100S2 is really your only way in, and you just happen to get one of the best imaging devices on the planet. And that is it for me. As always, thank you for watching, and please subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and please comment in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and so does the algorithm. As for me, for now, I'm out. Peace.